magandang gabi po sa inyo. Ito po ang inyong favorite na ka-moisture at ka-freshan at ka-pop quiz. Ano pa ba? Kaututang dila, kalandian, kapuyatan, ano ba? Katoto, kauli, charot, kabit. Hindi ako kabit. Ha? Hindi ako pumapatol sa may mga kabit. Smooth. Anyway, smooth and rough at the same time. Charot. So, i-share nyo na to mga friendship, no? Ito na. Siguro naman, stable na tayo. Naku talaga, strict kasi ang parents ko, no? Anyway, maganda nga, mga ka-moisture, ito po si Sasso Rogando Sasot, ang inyong favorite na tagalista ng Noisy, ang faithfully defiant na freshness, ganyan. Hello, ayan, i-share nyo na, click share. Ito, maganda pag-uusapan natin ngayon. Kasi nagulat din ako dito, I didn't punta ang bagong chika, kasi ang dami kasing message sa comment section, no? Ano daw ang masasabi ko doon sa bagong defense lawyer ni PRRD. And hindi lang tinatanong for about 8 years, slightly over 8.5 years, no? Tumira ako sa daig. Hindi ako nag-aig. Kapit-bahay ko lang yung halos napakalapit lang sa akin yung ICC, no? Maliit lang naman kasi ang daig. Den Haag. Yung proper pronunciation ng Dutch ng Dutch city na The Hague, sa Dutch, Den Haag. Repeat after me, Den Haag. yung para plemang nire-release. Lalo na kapag Dutch ka sa The Hague, mahilig talaga yan sila sa lalamunan ba, ganyan. Kasi iba ang Dutch sa Amsterdam at sa The Hague. Kasi parang sila kasi ang Amsterdam very liberal, ang Hague medyo conservative dyan. So talaga feeling nila sila yung talagang Dutch. So yung pronunciation ng Den Haag, pag ikaw alam mo kung yung Hague, sa Hague talaga emphasize talaga yung gahak. Ganyan. So, gano'n na. Ganyan. Den Haag. Ganon. Again. 1. Repeat after me. The proper pronunciation of the city in Dutch is Den Haag. Diba? Nakakaloka. Choppy ba? Ewan ko sa inyo kung bakit choppy, no? Hindi naman choppy din sa akin. Baka sa'yo lang choppy. So, hindi siya K. Hindi K ang pronunciation. Sinabi ko ba Den Haag? K is Haag. Den Haag. Again. 1, 2, ayan. Den Haag. Den Haag. Okay. So, diretso na tayo sa ating pag-uusapan. Choppy pa rin. Choppy in Australia. Okay na raw. Hindi naman daw, pero mas okay na raw. Hintayin nyo na raw magsa-stabilize din yan. Anyway, so bago ang lahat, I will just like to invite you again to follow me on Substack dahil alam nyo naman, ginugurgur na ang mga tao. Please screenshot this and follow me on Substack dahil dito talaga ay wala talaga dito censorship. at hindi wala po ditong shadow banning. Kaya paki-screenshot po ito, it's either ita kayo mismo dun sa website, and then please subscribe. You only need to write your email address doon sa meron dong procedure on how to do it, and hindi na kayo mag-worry sa shadow banning dahil ang aking content from Substack ay diretso sa inyong mga email. Pwede rin yung i-download ang app na Substack. Ito ay available sa Google Play at sa Apple Store. At as of this moment, meron na po tayong mga readers from 164 countries. Yan po ang ating statistics ngayon. Maraming salamat sa mga nag-subscribe. Paki-screenshot po. Ito na naman, nawawala-wala na naman tayo. May mga nanggugurgor ha. So, paki-screenshot po yan, and then yun na po ang ating aking backup. Okay, backup plan. Diretso po sa email, alam nyo naman po, they're preparing for the impeachment of Sara Duterte, and they would like to dominate discussion on social media. Okay. Now, also share this in your Facebook Messenger and other social media. Okay, now, eto kasi, nagulat ako because ngayong, nakabasa ko lang to sa comment section ko about the new additional lawyer of PRRD sa ICC. And ang ano niya is si Dov Jacobs, no? Dov Jacobs ay isa po itong international criminal lawyer, and he's French. And I was excited because isa ako sa mga former students ni Dov Jacobs sa Leiden University. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, nag-aaral ako dyan mismo sa The Hague, sa Leiden University, but the Leiden University that is in The Hague. And it's Leiden University College, The Hague. Now, why am I excited? Because ngayon, may masasabi na ako kung ano masasabi ko dun sa lawyer. Kasi yung isang lawyer ni PRRD, I don't know him, I haven't met him, I've only read his CV. Pero ito, sa mga ito talaga, masasabi ko na talaga, and I can say something about Dov Jacobs, kasi nga, dati akong student ni Dov Jacobs. Okay. So, ano masasabi ko dito kay Dov Jacobs? Okay, as a former, as one of his subjects, ano ba mga ang mga na-take ko na subjects. So, as yun sa aking page na hindi alam ang aking background, pero yung iba sa usap dito, pero sa po ay nag-aral. Ang aking undergraduate studies ay sa Leiden University, and degree at Leiden University College. I major in political justice with minor in international development. So, degree na yun. So, combined yan, it's a international law, and of course, a minor in international development. Ganun katindi. Diba? Ganun dapat, kailangan talaga. Okay. So, siyempre, so merong international law. So that's why it's a combined major, combined degree talaga, combined major. So, ngayon, ang international law, ano if it's true in the Philippines, ang international law kasi sa Pilipinas, it's only one subject. I think it's only 5 5 units, remember. For us, when I studied international law, hindi lang siya isang subject. So, iba-iba siya. For example, the first course, we call it in Unity, not subject, but course. Sa Pilipinas kasi ang kurso is yung degree. In university, the degree is a course. The course is just a subject. Anyway, so I took 4 courses under Dov Jacobs when I was studying at Leiden University. So sa kanya lang yan 4 na kursong relate na international law subjects. So the first one is global justice. The second one is statehood and sovereignty. The third one is advocacy and litigation, and then legal method and jurisprudence. So, yung global justice, the course global justice, it's like a comprehensive introductory. So, based on the course, is to actually this. So, you really about defining what is justice and exploring justice from different lenses. So, I die, madugo talaga yan. So, yung mga nakikita ko, yung mga post ko, wala yan. Kasi posting naman yan. Bakit kailangan malalim na pag-iisip? Pero pag ako talaga, seryoso, madugo talaga yan. Kaya nga, ako nag-aaral ko na, I think bakit, alam niyo naman, no, pag kayo ay masyadong busy, wala na kayong panahon sa ninyo. So, I huge nagkaroon ng problema yung relasyon namin. So that was part because ang suda ako na kung relasyon natin. Ako na maaga talaga siya naging and buhay pa siya ng 1 hour from to in the Netherlands para mag go to work. So, maaga talaga siya. Hindi ako tutulog kasi nasa computer lang ako nagre-research, nagsusulat ng essay, ganyan. I think that was a huge contribution. Why my relationship? That was my contribution. Why my relationship had problems. Alam mo yon? Sobrang better ako na like maging and because of my own fault na nang nangyari ko achieve mo yung pangarap mo, but instead of actually doing it, naka-apekto sa relasyon mo, and then dahil nga my relationship then had problems, na-apektuhan tuloy yung pag-aaral ko. So hindi ko na-achieve ang pangarap kong maging about I failed one subject. That's why I didn't become magna cum. So anyway, pero I was gunning for summa cum laude. Pero dahil nga sa nangyari, cum laude ako. Okay na rin, pero kasi ako pag hindi ko na achieve yung gusto ko ma-achieve, medyo masakit sa kalooban. Like, especially that I know that I contributed to why it happened. Anyway, so tayo pinihihagay yan. Halimbawa, ipapakita ko sa inyo yung yung paper ko na sinubmit sa kanya sa Justice. Okay? Justice. Global. Okay. Ang tagal naman mag-open ito. Okay. So, ito yung pakita ko lang sa inyo. Para makita niyo yung what kind of stuff that we were learning. So, okay. There. So ngayon, ito yung paper na I submitted to him, to Dov Jacobs sa Global Justice. So yan, Global Challenges 3, Justice. So ano ba tong paper ko? Ang paper, I told you that the entire course, yung Global Justice is all about defining justice, you know? So ang paper ko noon is, ang title is Justice Through the Rule of Law and Justice Without the Rule of Law. So basically, ang paper nanto is anong pinagkaibahan na ng justice without the rule of law and justice through the rule of law. Sa Tagalog, meron po hindi under the rule of law at meron ding justice pareho pa rin silang justice, pero the way that they are achieved are differently. And bakit bakit ang rule, it's a very complex paper, no? I don't want to bore you, but I just like to give you an overview kung ano ba talaga yung mga pinag-uusapan namin. So, kaya ito yung paper ko noon kasi nga we need basis and rule of law. So ngayon ang gagawin natin ngayon, another paper that I submitted to him was actually ito na okay. Sa ano naman niya to? Sa legal method. Ano ba 'yan, makikita nyo? Sa ano naman to? Legal method and jurisprudence. Legal method and jurisprudence. Makikita nyo tuloy yung student number ko sa then anyway, it doesn't matter kasi hindi na naman ako nag-aaral doon. Tapos na ako. So, ito naman yung sa legal method and jurisprudence. So, this, sa mga lawyers, they're familiar with this because this is a case note. So, ito ang aking final paper sa kanya. This is a case note of Kononov versus Latvia. Okay. So, basically, ang gagawin dito, ang ginagawa dito sa case note, ayan, of course, familiar mga lawyers dito, no? Mga law student. So basically, sa amin naman, ang gagawin namin is, this is like the IRAC strategy. So, pero dito is, of course, you have to lay down the facts nung kaso. So we are analyzing a court judgment. This is a European Court of Human Rights. Tama ba ako? If my memory. Yeah, European Court of Human Rights. Okay, I know. I think this is Grand Chamber. Ano pa dal to? European Court of Human Rights. Okay, European Court of Human Rights case ng Kononov versus Latvia. Okay, so ngayon pina-analyze ito sa amin, and this was a very controversial European Court of Human Rights decision at the time na nag-aaral ako. Because for the first time, merong, you know World War II, di ba? Karamihan ng mga pinarusahan ng World War II, pinrosecute, etc., are members of the Axis. Axis, di ba? Yung mga Allied forces, walang sa kanilang na-punish, na-prosecute, etc. So ngayon, syempre, ang malaking naging criticism nun, yung Nuremberg trial is nothing but a victor's justice. So, ngayon, for the first time, itong si Vasily Kononov na miyembro ng Allied Forces during World War II, siya ay bigla siyang pinrosecute. Can you imagine? Bigla siyang pinrosecute noong 2004. So World War II World War II pa yun. Kononov kasi is siya ay may Russian nationality. So after so many for war crimes. So siya yung kauna-unahang allied miyembro ng Allied Forces that's been prosecuted for war crimes. Pero pinrosecution in 2004. So kaya nakakatuwa ito. So 2004. So kailan ba sa amin pinasulat? Kaya very hot, very hot to kasi 2004 2004 yung decision because so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So mga 8 years pa lang nung nag-decision to. Kaya very hot pa to sa Europe. So ito yung pina-analyze sa amin. So ayan, papakita ko sa inyo yung parts ng paper. So of course, how you analyze a jurisprudence is very clinical yan. So first, you identify the facts. And facts lang talaga ha, kung ano yung facts na nandun. And then you identify the ratio decidendi. Ang ratio, ang ibig pong sabihin nito, ano ba talaga yung what is the finding based on the issue? Okay, ang issue kasi dito is whether kung pinaka-gist kasi ng kaso is pwede ka bang kasuhan? Pwede ka bang maging criminally liable sa isang krimen na walang batas? Okay. Na halimbawa nagkaroon ng batas ngayon, pwede ba siyang i-apply sa kasalanan mo in the past? Nagigets yun na. So medyo madugo ito kasi this is international law and then there are various sources of international law. Anyway, ang sabi ng korte dito sa kaso ni Kononov, nag-establish siya ng two-step process yung jurisprudence ito na kung pwede ka ma-convict ng war crimes committed in the past. First, kailangan yung acts or commissions at the time they were committed must be defined with sufficient accessibility by international law. Ibig sabihin, kasi war crime is an international law matter. So, kailangan merong batas. Basically, yun lang unang step. Kailangan may batas at siya ay dapat ay accessible sa lahat. And at the time na kinumit yung crime, dapat may nag-i-exist ng batas. Pero at the second time, the second step, dapat yung person could have reasonably foreseen that his acts or omissions would make him criminally liable. Ito na yung clarity nung batas. Ibig sabihin, so this is a finer aspect of criminal law. Ha? So ibig sabihin, hindi lang sapat na may batas. Dapat yung batas din clear. Dapat yung batas din clear na kung ano yung mga hindi po pwedeng gawin. Kasi dapat ang batas it will give you clear instruction. Is unclear, make you commit an offense because it is unclear, hindi ka liable. Parang ganun yung ganung ano. So ignorance of the law doesn't excuse you. Pero unclear law can excuse you. Kaya nga sa Europe, no, I don't know if this still applies in the Philippines. I think daming migrant, no. Talagang they make it a point na kung ikaw migrant ka, meron talagang interpreter. At qualified competent interpreter na mag-i-interpret sa'yo ng batas, etc. Every procedure. Kasi, kung may ginawa ka kasalanan, ngayon, ang sabi pa nung judge, ang pinaka-contentious kasi dito, yung gradual clarification of the rules of criminal liability through judicial interpretation. Sabi ng judge, hindi prohibited ang gradual clarification. Pwede naman siyang i-clarify na ang through judicial interpretation, so long as yung interpretation ay interpretation na foreseeable pa rin ng magko-commit ng offense. Okay. So, madugo ito. So next, of course, no, dito sa ganitong paper, you need to analyze the method of interpretation and sources of law used by the court. Bakit sources of law? Because in international law, there are different ways to interpret and to actually to ground a judgment. Pero of course, there is kailangan may method of interpretation. Dapat alam mo, pag binagbabasa ka ng international jurisprudence, alam mo yung method of interpretation. Because every method of interpretation yields a different result. Kaya nga medyo magulo-gulo ang international law, no? Hindi siya katulad sa domestic law na how should I say this? Na mas kahon. Okay, mas nakakahon ang domestic law, domestic jurisprudence. Sa international law po, it doesn't work that way. So, kaya kailangan mo, every method of interpretation can yield a different result. So, halimbawa dito, kailangan i-analyze mo yung method of interpretation, and then you have to identify the sources of law used by the judge. So, halimbawa dito, I think anyone who studied international law, know the sources of international law. That is in Article 59 of the International Court of Justice Statute. So dito, kailangan mo i-identify yung lahat ng yon, yung treaty law, customary international law, tapos domestic laws, and then of course subsidiary sources of law. So ngayon, anyway, I'm not gonna give you I'm gonna bore you that. So basically, katulad ng paper na yun, may critical assessment. So ngayon, anong relationship kay Jacobs? Kasi si Dov Jacobs, ang experience ko sa kanya as a student, siya talagang humasa ng aking host. His music, mambara si Dov Jacobs. Grabe kasing mambara si Dov Jacobs ng student. Very frank ang mga tao. We don't call wala guys. So, very sharp. I believe ang isa sa mga idols niya sa pagsusulat ng jurisprudence is si Justice Scalia. I don't know dito, Justice Scalia sa US. And there are things with Justice Scalia, but just very concise and very direct to the point, and maliliwanagan ka talaga. That's why I gusto ko rin yung gusto ko rin magsulat ng decision ni Justice Scalia. So ganyan si Dov, no? It's a very sharp person. Magaling tong mambara, no? Talagang he doesn't like motherhood statements. Ayaw na yan. Si Dov. Ayaw niya yung mga bleeding hearts. Bleeding hearts yung mga para sa katarungan, para sa karapatan, ganyan. Ayaw niya yung mga ganyan. Ang gusto ni Dov is remove you have to argue without referring to these motherhood statements. Kailangan, ayaw pagputi mo, concise and clear. He wants everything have a clear definition. Halimbawa, pag sinabi mong interest of justice, what exactly do you mean by interest of justice? Siya, Jacobs. I remember during my one of my presentations, first time na encounter siya. I think our topic then, affirmative sa inasan, I have to argue for or against affirmative action. I believe I argued against in top way ako in neighborhood statement. So after nun, kasi sa presentation kasi, sa amin nun, every presentation, may feedback ka kagad sa professor, kakausapin ka, ganyan. At sinabi niya sa akin, alam mo, okay na yung mga pinagsasabi mo, ganyan. Pero pagdating sa dulo, ayaw niya yun ng ganun sa class. It's very clear, etc. So why is Dov Jacobs very significant? At natuwa ako na kinuha ito as part of the defense team. Kasi si Dov Jacobs pala, just so you know, no, he's actually a very very critical of the International Criminal Court. Kaya nga halimbawa ito. So he has written a lot of papers. So he's well published on international criminal law. Marami yan. Kaya pag pumunta kayo ng Google Scholar, ang daming sinulat yan ni Dov Jacobs na published in a lot of international law journals. And ang pinaka-favorite na topic niyan ni Dov Jacobs pagdating sa justice. And because this is his personal stand, okay? Hindi lang ito because he's an academic or whatever. This is his really personal stand. Ang personal stand niya, justice is not, pagdating mo ng korte, ang unang-unang gumamses. Kasi di ba bumalik tayo sa unang paper ko, yung rule of law, it's about process. Okay? Hindi diba, to achieve justice outside the rule of law. But justice through the rule of law is governed by process. Okay? Kailangan malinaw yung process. Ngayon, personal stand nito based upon my understanding when I was his student, in any way, no? So rule of law is really about the procedures underlying that concept. Kasi why? Why? Because yung content ng law, it changes depending who is. After 6 years, paano kung liberal? Marami ring liberal na batas na mapapasa or marirepeal. So dahil nga itong content, no, content ng law changes. Ano yung that we not be ng GIS. And that is actually the procedures. So the procedures kailangan mong sundan. So kailangan ang ano niyan is the procedures are neutral. It applies both to the accused and so yan ang kanyang talagang personal stand as I understood him. He taught us that during Um, Actually, he taught us that during course, yung justice. So, saka, siya rin yung professor namin sa sovereignty and statehood. Can you imagine, ha? In law school in the Philippines, I think sovereignty is only discussed in an hour. In sovereignty, alam mo yun? Ganong kadugo yung subject na yan. It's an entire subject. So, one full semester. Yun lang pinag-uusapan namin, sovereignty and statehood. Okay. So, kaya ganun yan. Matataas naman yung mga grade nakuha ko sa kanya, puro A, no? In A. Sa isa lang ako sumemplang sa grade. Ko doon ay B+. Okay, sa advocacy and litigation. Paano naman kasi ang ano pa naman namin noon kasi ang case study namin sa advocacy and litigation in the United States for cholera. Hindi ba? Tapos sa akin, ang inassign mo naman sa aking part, kasi i-assign ka na maging defense lawyer maging defense lawyer, hindi ba mahirap na i-defend doon sa simulation. Tapos yung kasi, wala pang decision niya na, pero ang issue nun is yung outbreak ng cholera sa Haiti na ang may kasalanan yung United Nations. Yung mga naging biktima ng cholera, yung United Nations sa New York. So, maraming defendants doon, no? Yung may military, may ganito. Tapos, sa samaang palad talaga, ang nabunot ko talaga doon sa klaseng yun, isang pinakamahirap na i-defend. Kaya sabi ko, ano gagawin ko dito? Diyos me, magic? Kaya subject na yan, plus. Kasi talagang, parang hindi ko malaman kung paano ko i-defense. Yun ang pinaka mabang kasi sa akin, he didn't do enough daw in order to defend my hypothetical B+. Very, very stickler. Kasi critical ang mga pagsusunod and the national court is subject jurisdiction. Kaya hindi ko ba yung lawyer in order to argue jurisdictions because I don't have any sa wala. No possible means to contact these people. Pero ang hinala ko dyan is baka ito kinuha to our own kasi sa addiction na ICC sa maraming issues. Okay. Kung hindi yun nalalaman, noong 3 years ago, papanood ko, sana hindi siya magputol-putol. Sandali nga, magsasara ako para hindi ako ma-latency. Okay. So, eto. Sana okay to, no, pag pinalabas ko. So, meron siyang YouTube. Kahit hindi lang to lawyer, dyan, just dahil lawyer, kailangan ng jurisdiction kasi critical talaga siya regarding jurisdictional issues ng ICC, no? Kasi eto, meron siyang interview noong November 9, 2021. Okay. About that. At nabanggit niya nga dito yung case ng issue ng Philippines. So sana dire-diretso.
Court, which I'm sure is of interest to many of you. 'Di ba? 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 'Di ba?
Anyway, parang bakit ang ang labo ng connection natin ngayon? I think it's something to do with ano. So so I think I think he might be a good addition to the team, especially on jurisdiction. Kasi Dov Jacobs was even quoted by the dissenting judges doon sa issue ng jurisdiction ng ICC over the Philippines. So pag binasa niyo yung dissenting opinion, Dov Jacobs is actually one of the references. So and to be honest, I don't know anyone who could forcefully argue jurisdiction more than Dov Jacobs. Magaling talaga to si Dov Jacobs kasi no nonsense talaga to at grabe siya ka-sharp. Alam mo yung ano talaga siya, very very clinical ang kanyang analysis ng batas. Kasi nga, sabi ko nga sa inyo, stickler sa process si Dov Jacobs. Pero mind you ha, critical siya sa International Criminal Court pero hindi siya nananawagang i-abolish ang International Criminal Court because for Dov Jacobs, okay na merong ganyan, permanent court of International Criminal Court na permanent. Pero for Dov Jacobs kasi, if this is criminal law, sabi niya ganyan, pag criminal law to, dapat pareho ng batayan? Alam mo yun, dapat pareho ng batayan tayo pagdating sa domestic law. Hindi tayo dapat, ang criticism kasi niya sa International Criminal Court is nagiging activist judges. Yung iba dyan. Hindi ba? Nagiging para siyang activist court, yung International Criminal Court. And for Dov Jacobs, that's not a good approach to criminal justice. Diba? Kasi criminal justice for Dov Jacobs is actually sa lahat ng criminal justice system, it actually favors the accused. Kasi the accused is presumed innocent until proven reasonable doubt. Hindi ba? Kaya ka siya favored kagad. Ang burden of proof talaga na i-ano ka is nasa prosecutor. Ngayon, hindi mo po pwedeng baliktarin yung sitwasyon na suddenly yung accused dapat ang mag-prove ng innocence niya. Because you cannot, dapat yung sa prosecutor burden, kasi yung International Criminal Court kasi, papunta na siya sa activist court. Alam niyo yung activist court, yung wala na yung proseso, kinakalimutan na nila yung proseso, basta makuha lang nila yung gusto nila. Kaya siya activist court. Diba? Ganyan naman mga aktivista eh. Wala naman pakialam sa proseso ang mga aktivista. They just want to get what they want. Okay? Damn the process. Damn the procedure. Pero for people like Dov Jacobs, that's not rule of law. Alam mo yun? That's not rule of law. Magkaiba yun. Kaya nga si Dov Jacobs, very fine ang kanyang argumentation na he might agree with you on matters of justice, but when we talk about rule of law, these are largely procedural in nature. It's not really about the content itself because content changes. Depende kung sino nakaupo. Depende kung sino naghahari-arian sa liberal, conservative, green, socialist, etc. Pero the content changes. Pero dapat merong hindi nagbabago and that those are the procedural nature. And that makes make ikaw accused, may sala, the Alam mo yun? Ganon. So maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Magandang gabi. I-discuss ka uli natin to uli next time. Pero hanggang dito na lamang po at hindi na po maganda ang ating connection. Thank you so much and have a good night.